That's right, Gary. Thanks for joining us here. You know, it's been a top story much of 2014, and now just days into the new year, another report shows a steady stream of illegal migrants flooding into South Florida. Seems like some things never change. With the recent adjustment in U.S.-Cuba relations, many people wondered if that wet foot, dry foot policy might be one of those things to change. But now we're hearing word from Washington that law will stay in place, which means travel to Cuba will loosen up, but those Cubans who do manage to escape the country and make it safely to U.S. soil will legally be allowed to stay here, and that will not change. If recent history is any indicator, that's a large number of people making their way towards the coasts of South Florida. Even under the Cold War travel ban that was just in place earlier this summer, with 90 miles of treacherous water between them and Florida beaches, nearly 10,000 people fled Cuba and Haiti to seek refuge in South Florida, and those are just the ones the Coast Guard caught. It doesn't include any of the people that made it safely to shore without being caught. That's an increase of more than 3,000 people from the previous year, and it's a 6-year high, a record for Cubans caught leaving to come to the U.S. over the last 6 years. Meanwhile, a police chief admits to shooting his wife, but he says it was just an accident. William McCollum was sent home, suspended as chief of the Peachtree City Police Force in Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. But it wasn't long ago that McCollum led 2 police departments in Palm Beach County. He was a decorated major in the Delray Police Department, second in command there. Many considered him a deputy police chief, and then moved on up the ladder over to Tequesta, the police force there, where he was the chief. Now his wife is in the hospital suffering from gunshot wounds, and McCollum is suspended from his job. Marriage records show the couple was actually divorced 15 years ago, but then got back together. This is the second time they've been married. McCollum retying the knot early last year after spending nearly a decade married to a different woman living in South Florida. Now, McCollum called 911 himself to bring an ambulance to carry out his wife and take her to the hospital. According to 911 records, when the operator asked who shot her, McCollum said, "Me. The gun was in the bed. I went to move it and I put it into to the side and it went off." That's a direct quote from him on the 911 call there. Now, police reports indicate the weapon was in fact McCollum's police-issued handgun. His wife is still in critical condition in the Atlanta Medical Center. Speaking of Palm Beach County Police, in Delray Beach, a massive brawl breaks out when residents say police got aggressive. It all started when police officers were driving down the road. They thought they smelled marijuana. They approached a birthday party and started to ask if anybody was smoking weed. What happened next was chaos. Police officers said the partygoers surrounded them, while residents and witnesses told the reporters it was the other way around. They say the police picked the fight with them. Either way, more than 70 people were involved in one way or another. Police fought many of them off with pepper spray before arresting 4 men. Now those 4 men facing charges of obstruction of justice and inciting a riot. During the melee, someone shattered a police squad car windshield, and right now all 4 men have been released from custody. In other news, it took some doing, but a federal judge makes another final ruling on gay marriage in South Florida, in all of Florida, for that matter. After some back-and-forth banter and protests from Attorney General Pam Bondi, federal judge Robert Hinkle did not accept Bondi's final argument and instead ruled that county clerks do have a legal duty to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. The judge will not force them to issue those licenses. They stopped short of that, but Bondi had previously threatened them with a misdemeanor criminal charge if they issued that license. This fight is still far from over, though. At least 10 different lawsuits are still up for debate in appeals courts, including a possible ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. That could happen soon. County clerks will start signing gay marriage licenses for the first time in Florida on Tuesday. And if one of your New Year's resolutions was to get to work on time this year, well, the Florida Department of Transportation, they didn't get the memo. They're not playing along. Road construction still on the horizon throughout South Florida, with much of it already underway. That's right, big portions of I-75 and I-95 will be out of commission in Broward, Fort Lauderdale, and Boca Raton. Down in Miami-Dade County, they'll see a fair share of construction in 2015, too. Express lanes along the south end of the Homestead Extension will be ripped up and repaved. But one shred of good news for commuters after a long construction project, the southbound ramp on US 1 coming out of Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International, that opens up later this month. So you won't have to use a U-turn any longer to go south on your way out of the airport.